Fresh meat.
This scene from My Bloody Valentine was much disputed when we first were working on the script. It was a scene that I kept having to fight for, as several people kept trying to get rid of it, because I don't think they understood it until they saw it. And then once they saw it, everybody was on board. This was shot in out in just north of Pittsburgh, in a teaching mine, what used to be a actual mine that had been closed down, and you know, it was the home of the school trip. This is this scene here where you see the two actors heading off, Jensen Ackles and Jeff Hockendoner, heading off down the tunnel. Basically, we mounted the camera to the front of a car that they go down, the tug, and and they were on their own. They just did multiple takes and multiple versions and different performances. Jensen basically directed the pair of them as they went, and you know, Jensen's a great actor and a great director from Supernatural. He's directed several episodes and was going to do his first one after this. He was lined up to direct his first episode. So in this scene, because we are actually shooting in a real mine, none of this is a set. The cage is a set, but the set is built, that cage set is built inside a real mine, so we're really underground. Meant that, you know, you can't fly walls, you can't move anything around. You know, when the actors are ducking, they're ducking because if they don't, they're gonna smash their noggins. We all were really wearing the mining helmets. Because if you didn't and you know, clocked yourself on the rock, you would feel it. This is seen as very much a psychological metaphor for what is happening to Tom, Jensen Ackles' character. This is the site of where the original accident took place 10 years before. It's an emotional and psychological trigger for him. And he comes in, and the miner appears and locks him in the cage, so the miner then can conduct the killing that's about to take place. You'll notice here they're in perfect sync as they move up the cage and we see them face to face, and they move up in sync in unison. That was very much by design. I had Chris Cornell, the stunt performer who doubled Tom as the miner, and Jensen rehearsed that so that they would be moving perfectly together as a mirror of one or the other. And if you actually look inside that cage, the mask, pieces of the mask are in there. There's pieces of a broken pickaxe in there that you could put together to make that, to rebuild a pickaxe. All that is actually there. So all the material that he has to become the miner are there, even though he doesn't bring anything down with him. Mark McCauley plays the leader of the miners coming down to stop the shenanigans that's going on. This fight scene was we had barely over 5-foot clearance here, shooting this fight underneath this rock is one of the lowest parts of the mine where we shot it. But it made for a really weirdly claustrophobic fight, and certainly shooting it was very intense that way. Because we had shot this in 3D, native 3D, so that's using the two different cameras, we had tested this 3D effect, the sort of vertigo contra zoom effect, where you're zooming in and pulling out, dollying out at the same time, before we started to shoot, and realized that underground and using the cage and all of that with that effect in 3D especially, it's weird enough and trippy enough to watch it without the 3D, but in the 3D it was a very strange and bizarre effect. Cutting of this, you know, I was very eager to cut this in a way that each time the miner, Harry Warden, smashed Red with the pickaxe, Tom tried to get out of the cage. It was almost like here he is trying to get free, and he can't actually do it. So later in the film, we reveal how he actually did this moment, what the real thing that happened was, that he's actually the one who kills Red, that he then goes into the cage and locks himself in it, and then the hairy personality subsides as the other miners show up and stop them, and to find that everything is find the dead body, and to find that Tom has been trapped, therefore must be innocent. But yeah, this was a scene that a lot of people were dead set against, but when they saw it, they realized it really is the center point of the film. So Dracula 2000 was shot a bazillion years ago. It is long been rumored to have cost $54 million. It did not cost $54 million. I believe the final budget was like 28, which was still too much. But it certainly wasn't almost double that. This was a movie that went through all sorts of different challenges with the script. We started shooting this June 22nd, and we released December 22nd of the same year. So we had a pretty good script at the end of April. We'd managed to almost destroy it by June due to many cooks and many notes. But this was a scene that I felt really kept what the whole movie was supposed to be. This fight between Omar Epps and Johnny Lee Miller. This was something that, working with Koichi Sakamoto, the stunt coordinator, and Ken Quinn, the Toronto stunt coordinator, we went through and mapped out how this was going to go. This location, we had only less than 12 hours in and out. We had to load in and load out the same day. So we shot one day a main unit with the actors, and then one day a second unit with the stunt guys that Koichi directed, with Joel Soisson. But the fight really wanted to have this sort of visceral quality to it, yet also this sort of fun quality to it. This is where Johnny's character, Simon Shepard, really becomes the vampire hunter. We used a lot of in-camera tricks of two different performers. Omar on one side, Omar's double on the other, to make it look like he leapt out of one frame and landed in the other. This line of Johnny Lee Miller's, never ever fuck with a antiques dealer.
Never, ever fuck with an antiques dealer.
His character in the original draft was so much different, and was the protege vampire hunter who really knew what he was doing. It was very much Van Helsing's number two and right hand man, traveling the world killing vampires. And then he just became a antiques dealer, and Johnny used to say that line as a joke on set, saying like, "Oh, it's not the character I signed up for, but I'll just play whatever I can play." And then when he said it, we just wrote it into the scene because it just felt like a perfect punchline for so many things. This scene is from Flesh and Blood, one of the Into the Dark movies that Blumhouse Television did for Hulu. Stars Dermot Mulroney, Diane Silvers, and Tembi Locke in this sequence. This was a sequence we called Tea and Propofol. It basically is a very simple suspense sequence where Henry, Dermot's character, has may or may not be a serial killer that his daughter is suspecting of having murdered several girls that look like her and having murdered her mother, and to the point where she's agoraphobic, so she's afraid to go outside the house and can't leave, and she's just been hiding in the walls and ends up under the house, and Dermot in his or Henry rather, in his urge to quote unquote protect her, cuts through the floor and drags her out. all the time just maintaining his innocence, like he's just a dad who's just caring, and there's nothing amiss here, and she's the crazy one. Tembi Locke plays the psychiatrist who comes to the house for sessions because Kimberly, played by Dana Silvers, can't actually leave. So and the house is under renovation, so here they are sitting down for their session, and Henry's character decides to sit in. All through the scene, we know that Kimberly has found artifacts that have blood on them, that have hair on them, that clearly are trophies that Henry has kept from his conquest. One thing in particular is Sophie's necklace, which is a necklace that she was given, which Kimberly was given on her birthday, which was clearly from one of the victims that appeared on a TV missing person report. So here she is basically talking about her father and taunting him to the psychiatrist without taunting him directly. The conversation that they're having is very talking around the truth as opposed to a direct confrontation. Henry in the background, saying very little, but is very much oppressing Kimberly in the scene, with a real sort of tension to it, but she's trying to push it as far as she can to see if she can actually get through and to the psychiatrist to help her. But Dad has basically already said that if she misbehaves, there will be consequences. Of course, the end of the sequence, we'll discover what those consequences are. And so Kimberly offers to make tea, something that we've set up earlier. And earlier she finds propofol, which is anesthetic. Supposedly that's knocks you out pretty quickly, and something that Dad uses on his victims, that Henry uses on his victims. Costumes here were designed by Caitlin Lengren, who's also the production designer. The first time I had worked with somebody who did both jobs, and it was a great way to go, because everything just sort of went together. Amanda Trace was our director of photography, who did both all the did all the cinematography and supervised the lighting, but also was the operator for all of this. And is definitely one of the best operators I've ever worked with. So there's Kimberly putting in the propofol and all those little inserts to keep the tension going on the other side. So we know one teacup has propofol and one doesn't. It's the one with the red saucers, the one with the propofol. Remember that as we go. The couple of those inserts were actually directed by Derek Bichet, our producer. We shot all of this in the house that we found in Lincoln Heights in Los Angeles. There's one big visual effect of the note falling, the little note that she wrote falling off. So there's the tension of okay, the note's there, it's sitting on the floor. Is Dad going to see the note? Is he going to freak out? Is the psychiatrist going to see the note? Will she be able to save our heroine? As they're talking around the truth, and Kimberly really starts to nail her dad as a monster and a coward in the scene and calls him out on it. Again, it's one of those scenes where two of the people know what's really going on, and one of them doesn't, and everybody's afraid to actually reveal who they really are and reveal the truth.
Because he enjoys it. He probably justifies it to himself. A man like that invents excuses to do what he does. To excuse his own sickness.
So here we find these tension and these push-ins on Henry as his rage is building inside. These are split diopter shots, and I hadn't done those before, but it was something that in the sort of Brian De Palma at all we thought would be fun to do. And then we did these zooms with the split diopters, which were very effective in pushing in on Henry and keeping Kimberly in the foreground, like he is, the tiny creature inside her head. And here, Dr. Saunders, Tembi Locke's character, the psychiatrist, begins to realize that there's something more going on. The penny drops, and she realizes that Henry is perhaps not as benign as she had believed, and that if she does not get out of here, there could be something more threatening underneath, that there is a situation that is dangerous. And she keeps looking down at the note. Dad sees the note, realizes what she's done, and right there, this punishment's about to ensue. And here you have the tension of knowing the note's on the floor, and oh, note stuck to her shoe. All that silent sort of poison that sometimes exists between families who put on this brave face for an outsider, yet have so much toxicity behind closed doors. This is where the toxicity begins to come to light. So we see the box cutter is just sitting there waiting. If she doesn't leave, if she doesn't get out, then the box cutter is going to be used. And there's the note. These big slow-mo racks were really fun to exaggerate this moment and see the dawning dread and the horror of everything is actually solidified, and that Dad's been forced to react. And Harry springs into action, slicing the psychiatrist's throat, blood pouring all over. This was a rig that was made. Tembi in this shot would shot through the plastic, would load her hand with blood and grab it and be wiping her hand down the plastic. And Henry's line, "You wanted to know, now you know."
You wanted to know. Now you know.
You want the truth, be careful, because you will get it. And then we cut to black. So this is a bonus clip, White Noise 2, the piano sequence, playing now. So White Noise 2 was shot in 2006, and as a sequel to Michael Keaton's White Noise, directed by Jeff Sachs. This was a non-direct sequel, so it was more in the White Noise universe as opposed to being a sequel of characters. Here we meet David Milchard, and who is was previously saved by the hero's character Abe Dale, played by Nathan Fillion, and we realize that Nathan has figured out that anybody you save, because you can see that they're going to die if you stop the inevitable, then there'll be a whiplash effect, and death will take several more. So it's a little Final Destination-y, a little bit like The Eye, a little bit like Twilight Zone. That's, has all sorts of different components to it. Adrian Holmes there plays Nathan's business partner, who believes his friend has just gone insane, and is trying to talk him off the ledge, but fails. This was very much a continuation and an acceleration, I guess, of the White Noise universe, where in that one you had to use TVs and things to see the dead or hear the dead. Here, because Nathan's character had suffered from near-death experience, the conceit was that he himself became the tuner. He himself could see the dead. He himself could tap into that White Noise world directly, Hence the sequence where the dead are showing up, warning him that he is interfering in things or has interfered in things, and something horrible is going to happen. Matt Vane wrote the script. Matt's a great writer and was a joy to work with. I think this was the first script he wrote that had been produced. He has a little cameo earlier you see in the background of one shot working on his computer. But he was a great joy to have around and to collaborate with on the script as we went through. This scene was originally quite different in the script, and then we changed it up to a piano, changed it up to this hotel. As we found the locations, things kept evolving, and then we had this opportunity to throw this piano off. This was shot in the Orpheum, which is a great old concert hall in Vancouver, British Columbia. Lots of great shows had shot there. The Changeling shot there with Peter Medic, which Peter Medic directed, a George C. Scott movie from like 1979, 1980, which is like one of my favorite scary movies. So it was great to shoot in that same space. Because Abe thinks, Nathan Fillion's character thinks something terrible is going to happen, and we've shown that Kurt, David Melcher's character, has this gun. We totally believe that it's going to be some sort of horrible mass shooting, but that's not exactly what's going to happen. Tom Elkins cut this sequence. I worked with Tom several times. He cut Inferno and the remake of Child's Play and Annabelle, and he's a great film editor and a great director, and did a great job building the tension in this sequence as we intercut from Abe down below, thinking that he has somehow stopped this by pulling the fire alarm and creating a distraction, but then discovering that he hasn't. The light hasn't dissipated, and that something horrible still can happen. This set piece was all designed around pushing this piano off. So this is a real practical gag, not the light, but the actual piano fall. So the set is pressure fit with a platform built into this heritage building, and this pushing off is real. Those two stunt performers go over the side with the piano. They fall into a box rig. The piano is on a bungee and recoils back up, and was in a bungee there. We just painted out the actual bungee cord. The shots down below where it impacts, so we did two passes, one with the victims who were hit, and one with just the piano dropping, and we had to put a metal floor underneath the carpet for the piano to smash on. You have to take the harp out of the piano because it's so big and heavy. It would have actually gone through the floor. And here we realize the horrible truth that you shouldn't actually mess with Mother Nature, and death has a plan, and if you violate it, you will pay for it. Kurt utters the words of, "I don't think you should have saved me."
I don't think you should have saved me.
White Noise 2 was a fun little movie. Didn't really get a lot of audience at the time, but if you get a chance to have a look at it, there's some fun stuff in it.